Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the conversation series on mediation, created with an aim and vision to promote awareness in the mediation in the world around us. And to talk about mediation and other alternative dispute resolution systems from the perspective of, and my camera is misbehaving, please excuse me. From the perspective of a common person, I hope I am audible.
Right,
Yes.
Shona.
Yeah. We continue with a short legal disclaimer. The views expressed herein are the personal perspectives of the speakers and may or may not represent the views of the larger professional community they belong to. The conversation series aim to provide a general overview and awareness of the subject matter involved and may not be construed as a legal or professional advice in any manner whatsoever. The session is being recorded for wide circulation. Let me introduce the lead speaker and the guest panelists who are going to contribute in today's conversation on online dispute resolution. We have Mr. Jawad AJ as our lead speaker. Jawad is an accredited digital dispute resolution specialist and global faculty with ADR ODR International UK, partner and head of ADR Services KD Chambers LLP Gurugram, Delhi, senior mediator trainer for the Mediation and Conciliation Project Committee of the Supreme Court of India and Tamil Nadu Mediation and Conciliation Center at the High Court of Madras, co-founder and former trustee of Foundation for Comprehensive Dispute Resolution based in Chennai, with more than 15 years of experience in conducting civil, commercial, and matrimonial mediation. He is impaneled as India Specialist Mediator with Singapore International Mediation Center and Bombay Chamber of Commerce. Also, as a guest faculty at the Maharashtra National Law University, impaneled as a mediator with Madras High Court Arbitration Center and the German Chamber of Commerce. Wow. So Jawad, after that, I really need a breather or at least a sip to, go and welcome our guest panelists also. Welcome on board, Jawad. That's really
Thank you so much.
a big, big experience. Thank Now we welcome our guest panelist, Advocate Pallavi Parmar, with more than 2 decades of experience in the legal domain. She belongs to the Vignia, the Advocates, one of the niche and trusted law offices in New Delhi, providing legal services to startup and MSMEs for legal matters. She has completed her LLB from Campus Law Center, New Delhi, and has many professional accomplishments to her accolades, including education in international trade and business laws and intellectual property rights. She has an enriching professional expertise in civil and corporate litigation management, corporate advisory, and assistance with NCLT and NCLAT in Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, and Allahabad benches. Representation in domestic and international arbitration. She handles matters relating to intellectual property rights, POSH matters including sexual harassment at workplace as mandated by the POSH Act, and has expertise in HR management. She's a lawyer as well as a blogger. She writes about day-to-day legal issues in various newly emerging legal domains and provides structured solutions to secure personal and business interests. Very good. She is also a voracious reader, having keen interest in latest developments taking place in legal domain, both nationally as well as internationally. So that's a very enriching experience. Welcome on board, Pallavi. Dr. Anu is a dental doctor by profession, an alumna of Maharana Pratap Dental College, Kanpur, lovely wife of a serving army officer. She loves reading, especially medical books. Very good. She's passionate about traveling and exploring new places. Wow. And she's a spirited person who loves humanity and enjoys catching up with people. Lovely. So we have a wonderful team together here. And for ODR, I think online dispute resolution, I think Jawad needs to open that bracket for us because even I am not much aware about ODR. So Jawad, it's your domain. Please have the floor.
Well, thank you, Sonal, first of all, for getting Pallavi and Anu on board, because I'm really looking forward to hearing their views, because they come from, I think Pallavi basically comes from a litigation background, and Anu is, of course, totally different, like she's a dentist. And so, I mean, it'll be very interesting to hear their perspective on this. Now, just to understand what is ODR, what do you mean by ODR? It's basically the acronym for Online Dispute Resolution. So it started with ADR. We have alternate dispute resolution, which encompasses, processes like arbitration, mediation, conciliation, negotiation. And now we are talking about online dispute resolution, where basically these processes, the alternate dispute resolution processes, will be taking place online. Like how we are having this meeting online. Similarly, these processes will happen online. Now, one thing that COVID did was, even the mainstream dispute resolution process, that is litigation, went online for some time because courts were functioning online. We were having virtual hearings. And it was a huge advantage, let me tell you that, because in the peak of COVID, I had a matter in the Supreme Court. And every time I had to travel all the way to Delhi from Chennai, and my client had to meet my flight expenses, my hotel expenses, my food expenses. And then we used to go and wait there for the case to reach. And more often than not, the case will not reach. And then you have to come back empty-handed because it will get adjourned to the next week. Now, the advantage of the virtual hearing, I didn't have to do any of those things. All I had to do was sit wearing my coat and band and follow the court proceedings. And when my matter came up, all I had to do was make my representation. So it became so easy. And that was one of the biggest advantages. And I'm very disappointed by the fact that the courts have now stopped this mode, because they could have at least continued with the hybrid mode, where they could have had virtual hearings for those lawyers or parties who are coming from faraway places, so that they don't have to really spend the kind of money they have to do if they have to travel all the way to Delhi. Now, coming back to the alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, arbitration is being done online now. Right now I'm involved in about 6 arbitrations that are ongoing, which were referred by the High Court of Madras. And what I do is, except where evidence needs to be taken, in the sense that where witnesses need to be examined, I have hearings, face-to-face hearings. But if there is no evidence, sometimes we have an expeditious process in arbitration where parties may dispense with oral evidence and base their entire case just upon the documents that are on record. So what happens is, they send me by email, they send me the soft copies of their pleadings of the documents. They also mail me the hard copies. Now, what happens when the turn for arguments comes? I invite them, I have a Zoom link, and they join on that. Arguments are advanced, documents are displayed on the screen, and lawyers make their arguments, and then the award is passed subsequently. So, and now there are also there are agencies, like there are institutions or companies that are offering a case management for online case management. We have several companies, like we have Pre-Solve, which is run by a very dynamic young girl, Namita Shah, and we have Sama, and we have another company called Just Act, which was started in Chennai by some young entrepreneurs. So where they are offering case management facilities, because they organize the entire hearings, everything online, and even the recording of evidence and all that is done online nowadays. So that is as far as arbitration is concerned. Mediation is one of the most, one of the methods that is most amenable to online dispute resolution. Because what happens is, in mediation, essentially it is a conversation. Mediator facilitates the negotiations between the disputing parties and tries to bring about a resolution. And it becomes very easy for the parties, because they are sitting in their own safe space in their respective offices and or homes, wherever they are comfortable. And we can have asynchronous, people from different time zones can participate without having to travel anywhere. I can give you a very specific example of one of the advantages of online mediation, where, before COVID started, this mediation started. It was a matrimonial mediation. And the wife was not coming at all for the mediation. So we had 3 sessions. And in all the 3 sessions, she did not turn up. So I was planning to actually, close the mediation and send it back to court under the assumption that perhaps she was not interested in the mediation. But then COVID happened. And when COVID happened, I told the center that, can I do this online? Can I try this online? So I sent the invitation to her. I had her number. So I sent the link to her by WhatsApp requesting her to join. And she joined. And I asked her, what happened? Why did you not come for the past 3 sessions? And she said that, sir, I have a 2-year-old child and I don't have anyone to look after the child. And I can't really leave my child and come all the way to the court, and wait there. And, it's very difficult for me. I came for the court hearings. Now I'm not able to come for the mediation because it's simply not possible for me. But this works for me. And what I have found generally is that, people, because they are sitting in their own safe spaces and they feel very comfortable. And most important is that time really doesn't matter, because I have mediation sometimes at 7 o'clock in the morning, because if it's a cross-border mediation, parties are joining from the US or from Canada. I'm right now doing 2 mediations where one of the parties is in Canada, and in another mediation, it's a commercial mediation where some of the parties are based in the US. So we have either late evenings, like even at 8:30 or 9 in the evening, or sometimes early morning, depending on the time zones. And there's a lot of flexibility there. So these are the advantages. And when we talk of online dispute resolution, it is not necessarily mediation that takes place on a Zoom platform or on a WebEx platform. It might happen through emails. Dispute resolution can happen through emails, can happen on WhatsApp, can happen on telephone. So all this comes under the broad umbrella of what is called as online dispute resolution. So there are many advantages. Now, when we talk of advantages, we also have to talk of disadvantages also. So one of the disadvantages that people talk about in online dispute resolution is that even if it is on a platform like Zoom, where you can see the person, in mediation, a lot of things revolve around, the body language, and, how do you show your empathy, and how do you understand what the parties are trying to say. The other issue is the confidentiality part of it, because right now I don't know who's sitting with you in your room. You don't know who's sitting with me in my room. Okay, perhaps you heard my wife's phone ringing just now. Okay, so, all these things are there. So confidentiality is a matter of concern. Okay. Now, what my personal feeling is that, one of my colleagues was complaining that, in online mediation, how do we show empathy to the parties? How do we demonstrate our understanding of the parties? How do we see their body language? How are they placing their hands? How are they, what is their seating position? Because you're going to be seeing somebody only shoulders out. So how do you really do that? Now, my experience has been different, because I have found that, even across the digital divide, you can establish empathy, because you only change how you speak, because it all depends on what kind of tone of voice you use, your facial expression, because they can see your faces. Okay, so you can show that empathy through your faces, and you can look at their faces and try to see, or try to understand what exactly they are feeling about what they're talking. So that is one part of it. The other part of it is the confidentiality. Now, what happens if somebody is sitting there in the room, out of range of the camera, and they are recording the proceedings? What happens then? Now, what I do is I use a very simple technique. I use a technique called trust. Okay, so I tell the parties that, look, this is your problem, and we are trying to find a solution to the situation that you are facing today. Now, this being a confidential proceeding, it is to your advantage to maintain the confidentiality. Because if you're not going to maintain the confidentiality, the other person is also not going to respect the confidentiality. So it is in your interest to respect the confidentiality. So I would expect you to not record anything that happens in these proceedings, and to, ensure that nobody else who cannot respect the confidentiality is a part of it. Okay, so this will be binding on you. So you have to take it that it is your problem, and you have to maintain that confidentiality. And I have been doing, from the time COVID started, I must have done about at least 40 or 50 mediations so far. And I have not come across a single case, touch wood, of breach of confidentiality. And I hope my luck continues to hold even later on. So these are the two problems that invariably people find. There is one more problem, and that is technology itself. So right now we were experiencing that with your video, because suddenly I could see myself, I could see Anu in your video. It was flashing all of a sudden. Connectivity issues are there. Okay, so these are some of the problems, but in spite of all that, the advantages are many, and the benefits are many. It's a huge cost saving exercise. And we also, from the perspective of the environment, because air travel, imagine if you have to keep traveling everywhere, how much of fuel consumption happens, how much of pollution takes place, how much of environmental degradation is happening. So from that perspective, also ODR is something which is really beneficial. And there are many more things. I'll go on speaking. So
I'll intrude here. Jawad, as far as apart from the technical glitches, we'll ask Pallavi here to pitch in. Pallavi, like Jawad was saying, that during COVID time, uh, court proceedings also went online, and I'm sure you would have also experienced this kind of an environment, or online proceedings you would have also participated in. So what, in your opinion, since Jawad was talking about court and on a hybrid mode also, he was advocating for it. So in your opinion, what has been your experience in online ODR especially? We'd love to know it from you.
The physical hearing versus the digital hearing, it has definitely benefited all the parties, like the clients, the lawyers, everyone. For me, it has been beneficial because while sitting in Delhi, we could appear before different forums in a single day. Like the single day we are appearing before Supreme Court, single day we are appearing before NCLAT Chennai. So like that, we were able to appear and participate different forums and proceedings. So it is beneficial, but yes, government should, the courts should allow the hybrid mode for the lawyers to participate even in the present time, especially when the digital infrastructure is already in place.
Yes.
Before COVID time, we were not prepared with the digital infrastructure, but now we are prepared with the infrastructure. So like in Delhi High Court, we have the option of appearing hybrid mode if somebody is not able to appear. So that should also be permitted in Supreme Court. So for that reason, like if you have some such issues, you can definitely write to Supreme Court Bar Association. They will look into it and they will put forward the request to the Chief Justice of India, and they will be doing something about it. Like, as I said, I keep on putting across the issues to the authorities, whatever I face and feel about my experience.
Okay.
Since I am in Delhi and we feel in the cases of the final hearings, I feel the physical hearing is a better way of putting across your arguments. For my experience, I was appearing in Supreme Court through the VC in a very huge tender matter.
Okay.
Since there were voluminous submissions which could not have been referred to and submitted in the VC hearing, the matter got dismissed. So there has to be, like, the case-to-case basis, we have the requirement of appearing in the physical hearing or the VC hearing. And accordingly, we choose the mode. And recently in Delhi High Court matter, it was a dispute between matrimonial dispute, wherein the wife was from Sweden and husband was in Delhi. So she pleaded, I cannot come every time, and it is costing, it cost me a lot of money. So, and that was for the quashing of the FIR petition. So the court asked the women to appear in mediation through the VC and subsequently appear in court through VC also. So that's how the courts definitely grant the relief if they feel that there is a genuine concern by the parties or the lawyers. So, but at least we have to put across the grievance to them that yes, we are facing this problem. And in the High Court cause list, we have a web link to most of the courts where the participants, they can appear through the hybrid hearing. So in the courtrooms, there are the cameras, there are the screens in all the courtrooms, where the lawyers who are not appearing through the physical hearing, they are appearing through the VC hearings. So maybe the Delhi is equipped to handle it. Supreme Court, we have to put forward the request to the court. And in other courts, maybe with the passage of time or with the request of the lawyers, they will come to know about it. So that's how it has been. Like ODR is a different scenario. Like mediation centers, definitely all the mediation centers in Delhi also, the mediation center of Delhi High Court, they also have the camera, the screens and the cameras in all of their conference rooms. So wherever required, the parties are not resident in Delhi, they conduct it through the VC. And mediators are allowed to do it through VC also. Like in one of the case where my friend was a mediator in Delhi High Court, one of the party, she was coming from, the party was coming from Pondicherry. And it was a stage of the recording of evidence. Like it was not a mediation per se, but she was a local commissioner for recording the evidence for the court. So she did some cross-examination through the VC, and then when there was admission denial document, then only the party came. So that's how the courts are taking the help of VC for conducting the trial in the civil suits as well. So that's how the ODR, when we say ODR, different forms of resolutions are taking place through different mediums. Like I am also part of this pre-solve 360. So my role is that I am there to file the executions in the matters which have been decided by the ODR. So what they did, they prepared a toolkit for comprising of all the legal issues and the questions which may be asked by the registry at the time of filing about the procedural aspect of the proceedings being done by the such organizations. So some of the questions, some of the responses were in terms of the existing laws. Some of the responses were in terms of the notifications given by the government of India with respect to the new laws being notified to deal with the ODR laws. So that's how slowly the legal regime is also evolving along with the ODR.
Yes.
Government is updating the laws and regulations to address the issues of recording the evidence, the service of the parties, and the certified copy versus of the award versus the digitally signed copy of the award.
Yes.
So these are the issues like how do you calculate the limitation period, and then how do you ensure that the appeal has been filed within the limitation period? How do you ensure the service has been done? So all these issues, they were handled in the toolkit. So that's how the entire scenario, legal scenario has evolved. Courts are evolving and the parties are also adjusting themselves to the entire scenario. Of course, it has been beneficial, but I personally feel that there are lots of loopholes which need to be addressed, because mediation is fine because not much of the party interest is at stake. But when we talk about the adjudication, like in the arbitrations and the court proceedings, when a lot of interest is at stakes and the petition get dismissed because of some lack of time, because you can't speak much. The court has discretion to put you at mute. What will you do? You can't do anything. Like in my recent experience with the DRT matter, wherein they open the window only for a small time, and then I'm raising some objection. Court is not hearing that. They will say, no, we are giving you a date, and they will just mute you. So what will you do? And in Supreme Court, in the hearing, what happened? They will just allow you to speak only when your matter is called out. Otherwise, they will put you at mute. So in such scenario, you are not allowed to speak beyond a point. And your limitations, you have a lot of limitations while putting forward your contentions. And in the physical hearings, we have at least face-to-face interaction with the judge. We are able to read their silent body language about how are they feeling. We have a chance to persuade them. We have a chance to just mold their reliefs also. But in the VC hearing, time is very short. You get only 5 minutes to present your matter, which may or may not be possible for the cases. So It has its own pros and cons depending upon the cases, situations, and we cannot just generalize. But yes, it has evolved as one of the most important mediums for dispute resolution. We have to learn, we have to modify, and we have to adapt ourselves to go on with the time and developments so that we are not behind the race. That's all I have to say.
Very, very, very nice perspectives there, Pallavi, because these are the challenges that ODR, if we have to develop it into a very good system for our country, and especially when the times when the mediation law is round the corner and international or cross-border mediations are coming up, these points would be very necessary to work upon. As you mentioned about the e-signature also, that's what I also wanted to ask Jawad to pitch in here, because e-signatures are going to, Adobe is there, then these platforms would have to become very, very known to the local population, to local people, to to give them confidence on execution also, because
I
having
would like
mediated, yeah, sure, Pallavi.
would like to add one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
This is my recent experience in couple of loan matters. See, these most of these financial institutions, they are going for ODR. The pre-solve 360 itself has handled. I was told they have disposed of 5 lakh loan matters till so far. So that's a huge number. And in another matter of a loan matter, I was handling with Hero Finance. So what I came across, these NBFCs, they engage in so many procedural irregularities, and the people who take small loans, the loan matters which they do through the ODR, it is of the small amount, ranging from couple of thousands to couple of lakhs. Let's say 20,000 to 5-6 lakhs, which means the loans are taken by some small time people, like the people who might have taken loan in the COVID period. So they are not very well versed with the legalities. They are not very well versed with the legality terms and conditions of the loan, the proper documentation. So in this particular loan, I realized this borrower was not given the loan agreement. She was not given the repayment schedule. She was not given the schedule to the loan agreement on. For all the queries, they were asked to refer to the app. So in such a situation, when they don't even have any documents and they are not even they are able to understand the legalities of the loan or any transaction, the ODR, wherein they are having a very limited access to documents or to the mediator or arbitrator itself, will it serve the purpose, actual purpose? So
Yeah.
that is a very huge question mark on the entire
Yes.
ODR system.
This is actually the critique that I wanted to bring to the knowledge of Javad also, because this is a critique that, it gives a pacifier effect, a placebo effect to the dispute, because it does not satiate the hunger. When you give the pacifier to a baby, it will just, it will give the effect that its hunger is being satiated, but ultimately the baby remains hungry. So when we talk about online dispute resolution, it is sometimes critiqued, like Pallavi is also saying, that the real issue is not handled, but the placebo effect comes in picture, and people, just to avoid the litigant way, or mostly who do not have the finances to handle it the litigant way, uh, accept whatever is. This is one of the critiques. So what's your opinion about it, Jawad?
You're asking me, so
Yes, Jawad, because I think this is one of the criticism that we as the
right.
ODR would have to handle if we want.
See, that is actually a criticism against the mediation process itself, because
Okay.
one of the those who are against mediation always say that what is the guarantee that people are not accepting a settlement just because they want to give a quietus to the whole dispute, or they don't want to, or they don't have the means to proceed legally in whatever manner that they're entitled to proceed. Now, my question is this, okay. My question is, what is the guarantee that if they take recourse to litigation or they take recourse to whatever the legal means that are available to them, that they will get justice?
Yeah.
What is the guarantee? I don't see any guarantee because it's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a gamble because there are so many uncertainties involved in the litigation process that you don't really know. Because ultimately it is how you perceive your dispute, what you perceive as your rights, vis-a-vis how the other side perceives, vis-a-vis how the judge perceives, ultimately, right? So your perspective versus the other side's perspective substituted by the judge's perspective. Now, where is justice here? That is my question. Okay. So therefore, the misconception that only if you go to the court you get justice is not correct. Because that need not be justice. Even if it is justice, it might be justice according to law, but not complete justice. Now, if you come to whether mediation or ODR or whatever, now here is a situation where you are consciously making a choice. There is no binding upon you, there's no compulsion on you that you should choose to resolve, choose to settle. Okay, it is a totally voluntary process. You evaluate all the pros and cons and you come to a conclusion that, okay, today a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. To use a very oft repeated metaphor. If you're coming to that conclusion and you reach an agreement, which may not exactly be what you may perhaps get through a court process, but today you're getting it, you're getting the relief today, and don't mind sacrificing a little bit for that because you know if you're going to pursue the other course of action, it's going to cost you more in terms of time, it's going to cost you more in terms of money, it's going to cost you more in terms of your peace of mind. Okay. So if you decide that, okay, today this is what I'm getting and I'm happy with it and I want to resolve it, how does it detract from the fact that you're doing justice to yourself? So I don't really agree with that, concept or, that contention that, this might amount to denial of justice. I don't think so. Because you always have the option of walking out of the process. You always have the option of choosing the legal recourse, which is always available to you. Nothing stops you from going to it. But if you are coming to a conclusion consciously that today this is the best for me and I'm choosing this, how do we call it as an injustice or how do we call it as something that is placebo or pacifying effect or whatever? That is my question. Okay, that's my perspective of that. I may be wrong in this, but that's how I'm looking at it.
No, we are all discussing opinions because this opinion as to whether do I have the time to go through all that? And if I am getting something and later on, after say around spending so much time, money in litigation, again, I would have to accept what the judge decides. So today I have an option of deciding it on my own. So this is also a perspective. So we are just having different perspectives from. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just a minute if I can interrupt. Pallavi will agree with me that the travails of a decree holder start from the day he or she gets a decree in the hands. Because executing the decree is a whole new ballgame altogether. That's a totally new proceeding, completely. And sometimes, executing a decree takes much more time than prosecuting a suit. Right?
May
and
I
there's
say
no
something?
guarantee.
Yeah.
Yes, please,
Yes,
please.
yes,
We are all having with respect.
I
We
think
do respect.
I have not raised, like, I have not said anything with respect to the mediation. Whatever I said, that was with respect to the arbitration proceedings, which was a way of handling and adjudicating the dispute. Mediation is like coming to a conclusion, which is always the best way. Like in one of my case, where client was having a dispute, consumer dispute against India Bulls and one builder company for realizing his money. So I told him it is better to take the money, whatever you are getting it right now, because it may take 5-6 years to recover your money, which will be a Herculean task for us. So depending upon the options, like mediation is of course always the best way to resolve it. But when we say ODR, it is not just mediation, it is arbitration, online dispute, the the digital hearing, VC, and all the means we are discussing. It's not just a mediation. I have nothing to say with respect to mediation because in my one of the case, the court said, okay, you discuss the cases through the mediation, to which we all agreed. So that is not a problem because we have to reach the justice either through mediation or through VC, whatever is the way to reach that justice and the earliest way to assist the all the people in the process. So per se, I have no objection to any of the means, but it's just a procedural delays and procedural issues which we are discussing. That's all.
At this point, I would like to call upon Anu. Anu, are you there? Because I really, yeah, Anu, that's good. So Anu is a doctor, and Anu, during COVID times,
Right.
at least ODR, everybody in our society was facing those times when we were practicing online. What is your opinion as an independent person, totally aware from both the legal and the mediation and the ODR aspects? Uh, were you aware about ODR actually speaking?
Thank you, Sonal. First of all, I would like to thank to all of you for enlightening me about ODR. Uh, Literally, I was not about ODR, mediation and all. Uh, During COVID time, even I have seen many cases like between the dentist, between doctor and patient, between MR and all. But that time only there were only few ways to solve the cases and all. Only that was only court. Then I was aware about the court only. But right now with you guys and even now I have a clear vision about the ODR. And during COVID, even I have faced many problems regarding this thing. But that time I had no idea that what is ODR and what is mediation. But now I am clear. I want to ask something about medical issues about Mr. Jawad. That how can we file or how can we process the a medical issue and legal issue to the online? I want to know
Yes.
because yeah.
I think the procedure of going about it, people
Yes.
like general. You want to ask about from the general person's perspective. How does one go about it? I think your opinion would make a lot of difference there. Jawad, you are on mute. Jawad, you are on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm sure Pallavi will also be able to throw light on that. But here's what I believe that, I think ADR basically offers you a very quick, efficient, and a very confidential way of resolving disputes. Because for example, there are some cases of medical negligence that are filed against hospitals, against doctors. Now, these are all cases where, these processes will really help you to resolve them easily. Because one, the advantage of, an online dispute resolution system where you don't really have to go to the court to resolve the dispute. If you can have a mechanism in your own hospital where you can refer such disputes. The moment a patient raises a dispute, you can always refer it to, you can have your own institutions who will be advising you on this. You can refer it, for example, Pre-Solve is there. You can refer it to Pre-Solve. And Pre-Solve can take it up online, approach the patient, invite them for a mediation or a conciliation and resolve the dispute. Okay. So what will happen is the advantage of that is one, it will be quick. Number two, it will also be confidential. It won't, go outside in the public realm. Like how if the patient goes to a consumer court and initiates proceedings that's carried in the newspapers. Okay, and the whole publicity, the adverse publicity, because ultimately, if supposing the doctor is proved to be right, he or she took the right procedure or did the right thing. But the damage that is caused to the reputation of the doctors can definitely be safeguarded. Because medicine, basically, it's an inexact science, as they say. because, it's ultimately a doctor has to take a call in an emergency situation to do something. And that may later on turn out to be wrong. But that doesn't mean that what the doctor did was wrong. Because, the body may react in a different way, each patient's body. Now, the patient may look at it, or the patient's family, if supposing, God forbid, there's a death, the patient's family may look at it as negligence of the hospital or the doctor. And they may sue the hospital or the doctor. Now, these are all cases that are really fit for, mediation and conciliation. And if it is done online, all the more advantageous for you, because you save a lot of time and money in, in these processes. So one of the things that hospitals can do is have a tie-up with, institutions that are offering mediation services, and take up those, refer those disputes as a first step to the mediation, institutions. If that doesn't get resolved through mediation, then perhaps you can look at other options. So there, I feel it will definitely help the medical profession. ODR will be definitely a boon for the medical profession, because there's a whole gamut of disputes that keep coming up, ranging from very small ones to huge ones where, patient has died and, there's a huge demand for compensation or damages or whatever. So these are all cases where it can really be resolved effectively through mediation, is what I feel.
Yes, most definitely, yes. Because as Jawad was talking, Anu, you would also have realized that, customer support system of the hospital, I think, plays a very big role here. That's what I also realized while he was talking. And especially if not only hospitals, Jawad, even if professionals, uh, doctors or medics who are there in their own field, and they are in tie-up with a mediation center. Supposing some discrepancy between the client and the doctor happens. Now, when a mediation center is involved in between, that will immediately be the first step towards resolving the dispute, whether online or whether in person. I think that would be the way to go. And that also gives us a demand and creation of a demand for such institutes, for professionals, where they can easily rely or tie up uh, with them. So that was really a very good point. So Pallavi, do you have any views on that?
Yeah, I would just like to add, in the cases of medical negligence, the very first thing which has to be proved or established is the exact cause of medical negligence. Saying per se that there has been a medical negligence will never serve the purpose, because the courts and judges are not the authority to establish it. So unless the patients have some source of establishing it, that what was the source of medical negligence, the case will never be established. So in most of the matters, they just raise all the hue and cry, but never coming to the conclusion that there has been a medical negligence and what was the cause of that. A small example, like there was a matter in which the death of a patient occurred due to some medical negligence. And he was in some ESI hospital. From ESI hospital, he was referred to a very far off hospital. Like ESI hospital was in Delhi, he was referred to a far off hospital in Noida. So, and the treatment which he was going through in ESI hospital, and the treatment for which he was undergoing in Noida hospital, they diagnosed totally different medical condition. So unless you have a medical opinion, you cannot come to any conclusion. So for such things, the very first step is to request for a consultation of the medical board to find out what the exact cause of death or what was found out in the post-mortem. Then only anything can be established and the case could be filed. So the ODR could be helping in resolving the issues between the parties. But when you say the doctor has been accused of causing the medical negligence, then without establishing the medical negligence, the doctor can be prosecuted or taken legal action against it. So these are the things which doctors have to keep in mind when there is any case of medical negligence has been made out. So they should just try to find out what is the cause of medical negligence which has been made out, and whether it was the actual cause or not, and what are the possible causes of the final outcome of the medical negligence, and what could be the liability imputed to the doctor. So that's how the legal perspective.
Yes. I think we had a very big session on medical mediation earlier. We started with that conversation, but yes, your input definitely makes a lot of difference, Pallavi. And Anu, like I hope your query was addressed properly by Jawad. So, any other views that you, Anu, you are on mute. Yeah. Any other views
Oh,
that
I
you?
have a clear vision about the ODR mediation. Then they show that I can convey with my colleagues and our surrounding people. Thank you so much.
That was really wonderful experience, because getting a perspective from a lawyer, uh, strictly from the lawyer's perspective, getting perspective from an ODR specialist, Jawad. So, and Anu, your opinion also that, how to, that was a very brilliant question, Ravati will agree, that most of the people will not even know how to go about, how to start the process. So
Right.
that was a very intelligent and an appropriate question from the perspective of a common person, how to go about it. So that was really wonderful. Anybody wants to say something? We'll
Yeah, I just wanted to add something there, Sonal. See, big companies have banks and other companies and all have what is called an ombudsman. They have an ombudsman service where, customer disputes, other consumer disputes, employee disputes, all these are referred to the ombudsman for as a first step for resolution.
Yes.
Now, what happens is individual doctors or small hospitals cannot afford to have their own ombudsman.
Yes.
So one of the things that we are offering from KDLX Chambers is an ombuds service where you can engage us as ombuds service provider. And when you have a dispute, you refer it to us and we appoint our panel mediators to resolve it. It might take place in person, it might take place online, but either way, we try to resolve this dispute through the process of mediation. And only if it doesn't get resolved, it gets escalated to the legal department and to the next level of whatever the legal process that has to be taken recourse to. So that is one of the ideas we are promoting very strongly, because we feel
Yes.
that mediation institutions should offer these services to every branch of business, commercial enterprise, hospitals, schools, everywhere, because there are a lot of small disputes that come up, even major disputes,
Yes.
which can be resolved through the process of mediation if you have an expert panel, because you don't really have to keep paying your ombudsman a salary every month. You don't have
Yes.
to allocate space for the ombudsman. You just outsource the work. You outsource the work, and that agency or institution will offer you the services.
Yes, I think that's would be the starting step towards, promotion of mediation also. So that's a very good step, because first step that people are going to be aware of this system. Secondly, where do they find the services of these people? So we will have to have a lot of institutes coming up who will be offering to people, to small businessmen, to business houses, which who are not going to afford to keep a permanent ombudsman or an advocate also. And that also reminds me that soon mediation advocacy, which is a new term being coined in the legal illuminary circles, legal fraternity, that also need to be addressed, but we are not here today for that conversation. ODR was the topic, and I think we have done justice to the topic that, where does one start, process, ODR or ADR, they go hand in hand. And so for a common person, like Anu was also saying, that I just knew the code system for dispute resolution. So at least today with this conversation, we have made it clear that it's not just the court way. Yes, court is the last resort and it should be the last resort, because giving impetus to the merit also, like Pallavi was saying, when you have to establish something, when there is a penal offense, so court time should be utilized for those activities, I feel, not for some misunderstanding created between two professionals or two people, and then they go to the court, and the court time also is important. So, and plus the legal heads also would be more constrained towards having that on the merit discussion, not just because some misunderstanding is there and then the procedure starts and then it goes and to pile up the court work. So I think that we have
And
today.
most important there,
Yes.
sorry, Sonal, just a small interruption. The most important thing there is the confidentiality.
Yes.
Because you avoid a whole lot of adverse publicity, because ultimately, even if the court finds in your favor,
yes,
the initial damage that is done to your reputation is done, right? So that is something that can be very much avoided, because from a professional perspective, it helps you to keep your image intact, resolve the dispute amicably, and see that there's no fallout of that on your profession.
yes. So apart from that financial cost, the mental cost that it takes, the emotional
Yes.
tax that it takes to you on your health, on your profession, on your relationships, that is, that's a lot of things that's saved, I think. So in all, today's session was really a wonderful session. I should thank Jawad, Pallavi, bringing that legal perspective and that important thing. And Anu, very good point brought out, that how does one go about it? How does, even if we know about it, how do we start? Because that your point is actually going to bring a thought process in action, that mediation centers, ODR centers would have to outsource their services. Service providers industry is going to be established with that question, I think, if people really realize. So that was a wonderful session, I must say. Any closing comments by anybody, or we stop the recording?
Thank you very much, Sonal and Jawad, Mr. Jawad. It was really a wonderful session, and I also got very insightful information from Mr. Jawad, and I really enjoyed participating in it. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Pallavi, because it was a learning experience for me also, and I'm grateful to Anu for asking this important questions and for Sonal for organizing this. There's just one thing in conclusion I want to say.
Yes.
Because when we are talking of ADR, technology is growing at such a fast pace that what is relevant today may become, what is new today may become obsolete tomorrow.
Yes.
So now we are talking about this. So now that's going to take things on a totally different plane altogether, where perhaps we will be sitting in a digital space where my hologram, my digital avatar will be talking to Sonal's digital avatar and Pallavi's digital avatar and Anu's digital avatar.
Yes.
So we are anticipating that kind of development that's going to happen. So I think if we don't embrace technology today, we are going to be left out.
Yes.
Okay. The world is moving very rapidly, and I think we need to keep pace with that. That's my concluding remark. So thank you very much.
Yes, we had to talk about metaverse also, but it's almost an hour, and we are going to need one more session about metaverse, because metaverse is something that is the in thing, and that we as a human race are entering into something that we need to know about. So we are going to again call Jawad and talk about metaverse, because that's really good. Anu also pointed out that she wanted to know about metaverse. So maybe next session, because it's already 1 hour that we've been engaged in a very good conversation. So it's lovely, people. Thank you so much for joining, and it was a pleasure talking to all of you and bringing you all together. It's really good.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for informative session. Thank you.
Thank you, Anu.